talk about the ADL war that has begun. I don't know if you're aware, but Elon Musk has, I think he's going for it. I think he's going to sue them. And I'm really glad about it. Because
the hero we deserve.
Yeah. People who don't know, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, they're a Jewish organization that was set up to protect people from civil rights violations, blah, blah, blah. This is the stated goal. The reality is they're a bunch of time-wasting, money-burning bastards because they don't actually do anything useful other than silence political opponents because they don't like their politics.
Okay.
I don't know about you.
What they seem to do, as far as I'm concerned, is defamation. And it's a sort of trend I've noticed. If any organization that puts anti in its title, the anti bit isn't true. Like anti-fascist, no, they are literally fascist. The anti-poverty groups, all they do is promote policies that extend poverty. And the Anti-Defamation League, all they do is defame people constantly.
And the main thing being because they're...
So what is... I mean, I understand what you mean. So what exactly what is their MO? Like, do they sue people basically that they feel like has defamed them, or do they try and get advertised?
Well, they try and get people cancelled because they will sort of take action, but a lot of the time they can do it by simply denouncing people and say, okay, you toe the line, otherwise we're going to call you an anti-Semite, and then they call them an anti-Semite and they get cancelled, and basically the mechanisms just do it themselves, like Facebook.
That sounds like Mean Girls, like secondary school. Like, I'm sorry, yes. I don't know if I'm being like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand.
No, you have got it. You have got it.
So they say you do what we want, or we'll call you mean words.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, this works somehow. I mean, again, I'm surprised too. I don't think anyone should take these people seriously from all walks of life, not just the ADL, but like say Stand for Racism as another one.
Yes.
Hope Not Hate in the UK.
Yes.
UK references.
Hate Not Soap.
But we shall begin with just promoting something on the website real quick. This being the book clubs we do. This one on Giovanni Gentile's The Doctrine of Fascism. Because if you actually want to learn something about fascism or anti-Semitism, go and read it instead of just getting told by the ADL that the person who disagrees with you is totally an anti-Semite because they hurt my feelings. Now, for people who don't know the news, we shall go to Elon Musk. Because he decided to tweet out of the blue, he's having a day, working hard, 8 hours a week, whatever the hell he does, and just tweets out for some reason. To be super clear, I'm pro-free speech, but also against anti-Semitism of all kinds. As you know that meme, it's just like, cool.
Yeah.
What? Whatever, man. Like, why are you tweeting this? And there was a lot of people who obviously asked that, and then he, elaborated to say the least, in which he goes off on one.
He has a thread. Oh,
yes.
This is the first time I've seen a thread from Elon Musk.
So he says here, since the acquisition of Twitter here, the ADL has been trying to kill this platform by falsely accusing it and me of being anti-Semitic. Our US advertising revenue is still down at 60%, primarily due to pressure on advertisers by the ADL. That's what advertisers tell us. So they're succeeding, or almost succeeding, in killing Twitter. Okay. If this continues, we will have no choice but to file a defamation suit against, ironically, the Anti-Defamation League. If they lose the defamation suit, we will insist that they drop the anti part of their name since, obviously.
Oh, right. There we go. That's my point then. Yeah, he's got it.
This is quite entertaining. I'm actually looking forward to this.
Because, of course, they've been sitting around calling everyone and being like,
I genuinely believe that groups like the ADL can only thrive in the West, where people actually care what names they're being called. I mean, seriously, like if I was sat in a room full of my uncles and be like, oh, you're mean, they'd make a song out of it. How Spider-Man, we are mean. Like they're just, I don't understand how a group can have such power that effectively they could cancel whole groups and organizations and platforms by just saying you're a racist, you're this, you're that. What happened to no, I'm not? Let's move on.
It's because we care about those labels. Like I'm sure if you went up to somebody in Nigeria and called them a racist, they'd be like, okay. What? They just wouldn't care. It's a uniquely Western phenomenon.
Yes. I have never met anyone else from any other part of the world that cares about these sorts of things.
Europeans do have a hyper-evolved sense of guilt, which is it just doesn't seem to have a limiter on.
Which is very easy to weaponize, which is unfortunate. Because I mean, I can't fathom this happening anywhere else. I can't imagine going to India and being like, oh, you're casteist.
Yes. Yeah, you ever seen the racism maps?
What?
You know about the racism maps?
No.
So there was a survey done of pretty much every country on Earth, and it was questions like, would you mind if your daughter married someone of a different race? Blah, 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 blah. And every single map, it's just like the West and NATO, let's say, is all green with I don't care. And then India is just glowing red.
Yeah, like, no. Yeah.
And then there's France, which is like right in between, where half of the people went, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, it's true. I mean, yeah, this is going to be entertaining. I really hope he sues them, though.
But it's funny you bring up that this only works in the West, because we'll get back to it. And for some reason, Asian advertisers on Twitter don't care.
I can imagine.
Yeah, 0% difference in the amount of funding since
Wow.
the ADL went after Musk. Get back to that a bit, shall we? But he's not the only thing, because he decided to start, going on a rant. I mean, his whole Twitter feed is now just filled with, "Hey, look, I didn't know about this. Hey, did you know about this?" You know, those kind of tweets.
Oh, is that thing he does where he's like puts interesting under a trend that he wants to highlight?
Yeah.
Look at this
Yes.
interesting thing. They're all corrupt bastards. So we'll quickly go through some.
Mhm.
So he mentions here about the controversy in more detail, the cost of it precisely, because that's what he's suing for. Giving them the maximum benefit of the doubt, I don't see any scenario where they're responsible for less than 10% of the value destruction. So around $4 billion US, he writes. So, I mean, that's what you got to sue them for. He says they're roughly about 22 billion in total is what we're doing. Document discovery and all the communications between the ADL and advertisers will tell the full story. So that will all be released, which will be funny. Advertisers avoid controversy, so that all that is needed is for the ADL to crush our US and European ad revenue. Much less power in Asia, he writes. Funny.
Funny
Anyway,
that.
this controversy causes advertisers to pause, but that pause is permanent until the ADL gives the green light, which they will not do unless they agree secretly to suspend or shadow ban accounts that they don't like. Okay, so that's the corruption in the machine right there. And he says that this relationship they had with Twitter for many years, presumably they have it with all Western search engines, social media orgs. And they do. Demonstrably, they do, because we can see it from Facebook, for example,
Wow.
who said not only that they work with them. This article here from Politico, for some reason, they made it public that, yes, this was all an orchestrated lie to make Facebook do what they want. It's pretty bold. I mean, if I got away with,
A big part of their grift is being able to display the power that they have. They want to visibly crush opponents every now and again so that everybody else falls in line and they get their power and they get their funding and they get their influence.
I mean, it kind of just highlights how cowardice has become so pervasive in society, because you have to question, the higher ups in Facebook, for instance, that make these sorts of commercial decisions. If they're thinking beyond just saving face or saving the few advertisers they don't want to run away. Are you not thinking, do you want your children to grow up in a world, assuming they have children, to grow up in a world where organizations like this don't have as much power to tell you who you can and can't have advertised on your platform? I mean, it's quite obscene. And people say, like, actually courageousness is a very rare trait. I think it's pure courage actually exists only in about 1% of the population. But you can see it play out, because I find it so ridiculous that an organization like this can bring, Facebook to its knees.
I mean, it's not just Facebook, of course, the advertisers themselves. I think if you work in advertising, grow a spine. Someone calls you up and say, "I don't know where you put the bus advert." Go to hell. I don't care.
Well, yeah.
Like, I'm trying to sell pills or whatever else. But the story in here is funny because, as you mentioned, they like to sort of dance and be like, "Yes, I am a liar and a grifter, and what are you going to do about it?" Which is weird in politics, but they can get away with it. So they write in here that Facebook had said in a statement that they didn't want to touch Trump's posts because when it came to elections, it believed in robust debate. Okay?
Okay.
You remember that back when they were like, "Wow,
Yeah.
politics," which seemed fair at the time, of course, as being like 2019. And now they say in here, there's two people you need to know. So there's Rashid Robinson, who's the director of Color of Change, and Mr. Gupta, who's also the leader of some organization who gives a crap. And they say in here, Robinson, for him, it was a turning point. Where do we go from here? Him getting pissed off there that they said, we're not going to delete Trump for saying stuff. That apparently was the turning point. He said to Zuckerberg, Cheryl, and Nick Clegg, three people who ran Facebook at the time, that we'd like to have another pivot. I'm saying to them that I'm going to go another route. Gupta was similarly frustrated, yet she determined that the advocates couldn't just throw up our hands and walk away and say, screw it. So then they go on to meet Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL. And Mr. Greenblatt comes to them and says, what if we make up a story about hate?
Okay.
And then we tell the advertisers that they've got to stop funding hate on Facebook until they do what we want, which is ban Trump. So then they just do it. You may remember the hashtag stop funding hate. Don't know if you recall this advertising cat. That was it. This is, I'm not kidding. You can go read the full article in your own time. They literally named the individuals involved, the conversations they had, and why they did it. I mean, I'm sorry, but that just is mad.
That's not very slick. I'm very curious the numbers behind this. So how much, how many customers do businesses lose if I don't know, they're being spread, like if the ADL says they are promoting hate or whatever, how much does this actually affect their bottom line? Because maybe it's my personal circle. I don't know anyone that would effectively be perturbed by, soliciting goods or services from a particular organization based on the fact that they pop up on ADL's don't buy list or anything like that. I generally wonder how much sway the ADL.
Well, if we take Musk at his word, I mean, what was he inferring there? Was it something like 40 billion from advertisers?
Yeah, 60%. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says that not less than 10% of it, so 4 billion, is the effect of the ADL. But so it's at least 4 billion.
But then wouldn't that indicate that it's more about the kind of political leanings of the powers that be that make the decisions, as opposed to actually we're doing this to protect our bottom line, and that's why these companies are refusing to advertise with Twitter? That's my logic, because I actually don't. I really don't see how this manifests in terms of actual business or commercial value. I really don't. I mean, I genuinely think it's just a few people at the top that have this kind of God complex that think we're doing this for the future, for the best of society.
Yeah, but the people at the top of advertising firms also have that sort of complex and a sort of...
I think that's what it is.
So I think it does resonate with a certain number of people, and clearly it has had a measurable effect at Twitter.
So it's hard to tell, but I think what definitely can be said is that Facebook are pathetic. They should have just told them to go screw themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on, we're all billionaires. Who
actually cares?
If you're actually a billionaire, the point of being a billionaire surely is to live your life how you want. That's why you got the money.
It's called FU money for a reason.
Yeah,
you have enough money to say F off.
Like Elon Musk is the only person I have respect for so far, who literally did just say F off, which is the news. But that's not the only thing. He also decided to tweet very interesting to this. It is a 2009 movie review of The Politics of Defamation. Now, this is a bunch of Israelis who decided to go and meet the ADL to see what they were, and very quickly discovered that the ADL do not help Jews or stop anti-Semitism. They're probably creating it, frankly, with their work. So Nuance Bro decided to tweet out a short segment of this here, which is very revealing. It's a little bit long, but I'd like to play it all because you'll get a sense of just how pointless these human beings are. And I suppose we'll...
So this is a guy from the ADL, is it?
Yes. So it's a documentary where they're going to ask the ADL, so what do you do exactly? Oh, we go back to that clip? I'm sorry, I think I may have pressed...
Do you have enough resources to deal with all this stuff?
No. We're flooded every day with these things all over the country. It's a very big problem.
According to the ADL reports from the last couple of years, the average number of anti-Semitic incidents in the US is around 1,500 a year. I'm hoping Joel Levy can help me find a case I'll be able to follow.
What we'd like to do is to follow a case.
I understand, yeah.
So, every film needs a drive. Once we have a case that we can follow, so that would be great.
We're going over the fresh data collected over the last couple of weeks to see if there's anything I will be able to film.
We have received in the last week or so someone who employment case, someone who wasn't able to take days off for the holiday, someone who is a school teacher and wanted days off for Shavuot, someone who is a nursing student and had some issues with taking time off, as well as with taking time off. We also got a phone call from someone who was complaining about a website that had anti-Semitic remarks on it. Someone who was complaining about an article in the newspaper who they thought had anti-Semitic undertones. And
undertones.
That seems to be the roundup.
And that's what we've had in the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Those are the kinds of incidents that we've had recently. 5 in 2 weeks. So there's no way to predict.
There wasn't anything suitable from the last 2 weeks.
Exactly. Very Karen.
That's it. That's sincerely, they were trying to show off to this documentary filmmaker from Israel, look, we're doing hard work to stop anti-Semitism. And they had some time off complaints and some people whining about what was in the newspaper.
Yeah, I mean,
website.
I can understand there are sensitivities in the Jewish community because, they don't want another Holocaust, but that is sort of that level. And this is, I didn't get time off on the day that I wanted. It's, there was a bit of a difference going on here.
I find how the word hate has been weaponized quite fascinating.
But it's disagreement now, isn't it?
Because the thing is, because it's now become meaningless, right? It's kind of like what makes a crime a hate crime. And I genuinely don't know the difference. Only if the victim in question feels that it was targeted, it was a targeted crime based on their identity or their chosen identity. And I'm like, okay, but surely that's just a crime then, or surely all crimes are hateful.
Well-
And it's the same thing with advertising, hate speech, hate organizations. What does that mean?
Well, as far as I can tell, a hate crime is when you commit a crime against a person who isn't the same color as you are. So if you are going to
Or
commit
the
a
same
crime,
pronouns,
make sure it's the
or
same
what,
color.
or sexuality, and it's
Yeah.
it's meaningless, and you're effectively satirizing things that we should be taking seriously.
Yes.
I don't understand. I mean, the whole sort of police commission, commissions or commissioners that are dedicated to looking for hate online. What a waste of your time, because it doesn't mean anything.
Well, it's a political crime. It's a type of crime that we politically are sensitive to.
A thought
Because-
crime.
Yeah, well, not just thought crimes, but also any physical crime. Let's say if I kill someone and he's white, no one gives a crap. I kill a guy and he's black, well, suddenly it's a hate crime.
Yeah, that's
it's
a
hate
problem.
crime, yeah.
We are more politically sensitive to black people in the West. I do the same thing in China. No one gives a crap. That's not getting a hate crime label.
Yeah.
But if I kill a Communist Party member, that's probably some kind of special crime. And this is the joke of all of this. I mean, just a side note, I love the whole, we do so much work. What do you do? Yeah.
receive complaints.
I always love people who are like, yeah, I do so much work. And then you get them to list it and you go, that's not
Yes.
that much, mate. But it's not the only one. There's also a clip here that's funny, but we don't have time for it, in which, for some reason, back in the day, they went to the Ukrainian parliament and told the Ukrainians that they can't call the Holodomor a genocide because that would devalue the Holocaust. And the exact quote from the representative from the ADL is that we don't want it to seem like your Holocaust, your genocide, our genocide, because then there would be a comparison. And the Ukrainian parliament is just looking at him like, we're going to be very diplomatic and say we respect the Holocaust. And then they just left because it was like, sorry, you came here to tell us that we can't call our own genocide a genocide.
It's a police speech for some reason. Like,
Yeah. But sorry, you want to sit there and be like, the Holodomor wasn't really a genocide, was it? I was like, you're just bad people. And then to sit there and stand on the Holocaust and be like, we represent the fight against that. And no, you don't. You're just bad individuals. And this went on. Elon then tweeted this. It's a thing about, it's a Jewish author here talking about how the ADL tried to make Al Sharpton into a hero after he helped some black riots.
That is not a great look.
Yeah. Al Sharpton had, some Hasidic guys ran down an African American boy, killed him. There were some riots from local black residents. They ended up chanting, as you see, death to the Jews. Then Al Sharpton turned up after a Jewish guy had been stabbed to death and decided to make it worse. And then for some reason, the ADL went out and were like, well, he didn't mean it. He was a good guy. Like, no, just stop. But
The enemy of my enemies, my friend.
it's dumb. But the whole thing that this started was because of TikTok, who discovered that the whole reason that this conversation is even happening is because the ADL wanted her deleted. And so Elon Musk said, okay, I'll just release all the messages they've ever had with me because screw those guys.
Did he actually?
Yeah. So as you can see here, Libs of TikTok saying, Elon Musk just revealed the ADL, whose goal is to fight anti-Semitism, pushed for Libs of TikTok to be shut down, which obviously has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It's also run by an Orthodox Jewish woman. So
That's a great look.
the whole thing Libs of TikTok does is look at the libs, not Jews of TikTok. Which...
I mean, I find Libs of TikTok quite funny. So I really, for me, most of their content is inoffensive, or any of the content I've seen. So that's probably not.
But I also love how no one was speaking of the Jews, and then ADL comes out and is like, "This is anti-Semitic."
I get this question a lot because anyone that is in any sort of front facing role, they get this question: who funds them? Genuinely, I'm genuinely curious who funds the ADL because I don't think I've ever seen what looks to me like a more pointless organization.
Well, the power they have is actually severe.
Well, there's that as well.
That'll be where the money's coming from. Probably Democrats, because that's what their angle is. Mr. Greenblatt, for example, he used to work for President Barack Obama.
Okay.
So, funnily enough, there are no anti-Semites in the Democratic Party he's been able to find in the last 8 years. But for some reason, everyone on the right, including Libs of TikTok, a Jewish woman, is an anti-Semite to him because, well, obviously it's political. That's it. I mean, there is no smoke and mirrors here, really. Just, we don't like your politics, so we'll call you whatever we need to. In America, anti-Semite is the biggest thing we can call you to get your reputation smeared. So we'll do that, and then we'll ban you. And that's the game. That's all there is.
I do hope Elon successfully sues them, because just because it'll just be more entertainment for me, and it'll be quite interesting in the run up to the elections next year.
Well,
Still weird saying elections, like 2024 is going to be the year.
They very well be. But we might wonder, what's the ADL's response? So everyone's calling them out and saying, okay, well, the problem with you is you just lie about people being anti-Semites and then you try and get political opponents banned. Well, they decided to respond to all of this by saying, we want Tucker Carlson banned because he's an anti-Semite. No evidence.
Head of the ADL called
This is
an obvious
Jonathan here. Just being like, obvious anti-Semite, Twitter must deplatform Carlson.
This is quite naked Democrat friend-enemy distinction.
Yep.
Dressed up in anti-Semitism.
I mean, it's a tantrum. This is why I said this feels like Mean Girls or something in secondary school.
Yeah.
Why Twitter must deplatform Carlson? Like, says who?
Not the only one, obviously. They then went on to say, literally anyone who advertises on Twitter, you're an anti-Semite. Great. Good job. It's being from Vidman here. Works for them as well. It's just, I'm sorry, but it could not be more transparent that there is no civil rights aspect to any of this. The accusation is you call people anti-Semites, not because they are, but because you want them destroyed because you politically disagree with them. What do you have to say? And they responded with, well, you're an anti-Semite because you politically disagree with us. We want you banned.
Well, it's exactly the same dynamic
Prove my
with
point.
racism. It's overusing
Yeah,
it until
exactly.
it completely
Well,
loses any meaning.
It's meaningless. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, completely exposed on the first day that, yeah, that is what you do. And what I'm quite looking forward to, if he does sue them for defamation, takes $1 billion off them, which is not small, they'll be destroyed financially, hopefully.
Well, yeah.
And hopefully, America and the rest of the world, basically being Europe in this case, because Asia doesn't care, as you mentioned, can start treating them like Tariq Nasheed. Are you familiar with Tariq Nasheed?
Remind me. I've heard the name, but
Tariq Nasheed's a wonderful guy. I love him. He's a black nationalist who's American, and obviously is kind of potty because he made this movie a while back. You may remember, Buck Breaking. A lot of memes made about it, in which he argues.
Is this like a
Wait,
BDSM?
That's funny.
I'm sorry. This looks like someone is having
So Tariq,
copious amounts.
is this
of
a
sex.
gay slave Jesus or something?
I mean, honestly,
on?
yes. This is what I'm thinking. This looks like some sort of freaky night out that doesn't end
this is how you should think of the ADL in future.
without
because-
any pregnancy.
So this is So Tariq used to make a bunch of movies arguing like the Japanese were black, the Romans were black, Queen Elizabeth, she's black, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Oh, so he's blind. Okay.
That kind of nonsense. And then he came up with this movie, which is arguing that the LGBTs of Europe were raping the slaves to keep a brother down. And that's why the real history has been, and it was kind of mental, obviously.
I mean, this man is clearly mentally unwell.
I gotta show you like a screenshot of it, because of course, like the thing instantly just got turned into a meme and everyone mocked him because it was like, bro, why are you making rape porn? Like, what is actually wrong with you? And this should be the response to the ADL, which is just like, you're an
Look at the
embarrassment.
woman. I'm sorry. Look at the woman's horror.
Like, he paid a human being to make this art
Wow.
for his movie. And it's like, yeah,
So
ADL.
he made this.
Yes, he commissioned it.
Well, clearly he's mentally unwell.
But that's the thing.
I mean, is
So
there
are the
any-
ADL. Everyone there in these circles who tries to argue such nonsense should be treated like Tariq is, which is as a joke. Sadly, at this point, the ADL have power, but
The thing is, they're well-funded, mentally unwell people with a god complex. Unfortunately, he is not well-funded.
And they're useful to the Democrats.
there's some good pencil work, I guess. Why am I trying to compliment this? Moving on. Anyway, that's the ADL war. If you appreciated that episode of the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Brokenomics series, this episode on Elon Musk. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.